My divorce with my husband was I started living with my daughter, but about 6 months later, an incident occurred. It was my day off, and I was relaxing with Natalie when my mother called me on the phone. Tom's surprise, my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law suddenly came to my house and entered without any permission. I got ready quickly and headed up in parents' house. When I arrived at my parents' house, my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law were sitting on the living room couch waiting for me. I had no idea why they had come so.
Why did you both suddenly show up at my parents' house?
I asked, and my ex-husband, John, said something which surprised me.
I want you to give me back the money that's owed to me.
My name is Aaron, and I'm a 40-year-old worker. I've been married to my husband, John, for years. My daughter, Natalie, was born at the same time as when I got married, so she is now in the 8th grade. 3 of us were living happily together as a family, and I knew that we would be able to build a nice, warm home together. I met John at a blind date, and I was immediately attracted to his friendly, kind, and cheerful personality. He was also attracted to me, and we kept in touch throughout our high school years. We exchanged contact information, and we started dating after a few weeks. A year later, he proposed to me and married. I loved him so much, and I was so happy he decided to marry me. I had a group of good friends from school, and the 4 of us always got whenever something happened. When I told them that I was getting, they all congratulated me. I remember that they all went to school and were saying that they wanted to get married too. Then, after my wedding, one by one, friends got married to their husband after another, and all the members married. We laughed and talked about how suddenly we became a group of adults, just a group of good friends, and that all at once we had become a group of married adults. Then, when I got pregnant, they all getting pregnant one after the other. No time at all. It became a group, one friends. I felt like we were going through one together, and I knew we would be co-friends for the rest of our lives. I had a fulfilling time as a wife and mother in this way, but I think I was happy being an employee at the company I worked for. After I graduated from college, I was assigned to the planning and development department of a major company where I was very busy every day. The work required difficult skills, was very rewarding, and every day was a learning experience and discovery. One of my friends in the moms group, a full-time housewife, had once said that she felt like her life was going nowhere. You're really a workaholic, Aaron, but you also have a fulfilling personal life with your family. It seems like you have it all figured out. According to my friend, I am a very woman, but I really would like to have a BC is as tireless as a strong man. Both John and Natalie support Henri at home after a tiring day at work.
I'm home.
Oh, Mommy, welcome home.
When Natalie was still small, she wooed me with a smile and hugged me when I from work. Just by hugging Natalie, all my tiredness goes away for that day.
Welcome home, honey. Dinner is ready.
Another person who relaxes me is John. John quit his job after Natalie started working part-time because I continued working at my company. John began working part-time at a local gym where he would pick up and drop off his daughter. And when I came home from work, he had dinner ready for me. It's pretty difficult to cook with Body after a long day at work, and real relief to come home and find her ready for me to just eat. John's cooking makes my body and soul relaxed, and we take a bath together while talking about the day. My life was like that, and my work and private life were very fulfilling. I think I was able to do this because John and Natalie were understanding bosses, but because he was such a kind husband and allowed me to be like this, I became even more focused and passionate about my work. As I produced positive results at W promoted to a higher position, I started working more overtime and come home pretty late at night. This often meant that by the time I got home from work, Natalie was already asleep in bed. Fortunately, by then, Natalie was in upper grades of elementary school, old enough to understand the difficulties of my job and was able to help me with her younger siblings. So, John also began working more hour shifts at the cafe.
Lately, I've been really into checking out different coffee shops and buying their coffee beans. I bought some today too. I also bought some cakes at a new cafe. Let's have them with the coffee.
John seems to be addicted to coffee making, as he seems to be learning about roasting the coffee beans, making coffee with different types of coffee, editing the following for spelling and grammar mistakes, and putting them into practice at my part-time job. That's why he makes very good coffee home. In this way, John and Natalie were both so passionate about my workout club that they didn't realize that our family relationship was slowly starting to fall apart. I first found out about it when Natasha told me to come in for a consultation.
What's wrong? You said you wanted to talk about something.
Well, actually, the other day when I went to see a movie with friends from school, I saw my dad being with another woman.
What?
It wasn't like they were holding hands or anything like that, but looked a little intimate with each other. And since last year or so, often talking on the phone before you come from work, Mom. And at other times, Dad would be so focused on his phone that he wouldn't really pay attention to me when I spoke to him, and he would just kind of smile while looking at his screen. At first, I thought he was texting. I also thought that he was talking Mom when he was on the phone. But after seeing him, he was talking to the woman from the day.
Natalie was saying this with a very on her face. She was already in middle school by then, so she's sensitive to such things and wouldn't be able to handle it on her own. And hearing this, I was for sure in too. I would be very sad if John, who I thought I was, putting Natalie first, was actually having an affair behind my back.
Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetie. I didn't know we were making you feel sad. I've been a little work-centered lately.
No, I think it's cool that you work, Mom, so don't feel sorry for that.
I was very happy that Natalie said and understanding words to me.
Thank you, Natalie. I'll ask of your dad about this, okay? And if your dad is having an affair, I'll even divorce him. But will that be you, honey?
When I asked her that, she nodded.
I don't like the idea of my own dad having an affair. Just knowing that and being with him makes me feel bad.
Seeing my own daughter say this made me reflect on the fact that I had neglected my family. I must look into this issue through the sake of Natalie, who took her CC talk to me about such a heavy topic. I immediately requested an investigation into John's claims, and I was surprised to find out John was indeed having an affair, Natalie had said, and there was photographic evidence of an affair. But what was most surprising was his partner. She was Stacy, who was one of my closest friends from my high school days and one of the members from the Moms Group E. I was more shocked by that news than the actual affair. I was betrayed by someone who I thought was a really great friend. But it turned out that they had never truly trusted me. Stacy is a stay-at-home mom, and she was the last in our group to get married. So her child is still small, like 5 or something. And yet, she was having an affair with a man without taking care of her own children. When I got the evidence of their aft, was really shocked and couldn't move while. If I had not been in my room, Natalie would have seen those photos and this would have caused a lot of trouble in my family. I wasn't ready to show and confront yet, and I couldn't possibly share these photos. I took a deep breath and tried to see down. Then one of the friends from the group informed me that she had changed her mind and suggested that we all get together. Stacy would still have no idea that about the whole affair thing. Even one suggested for a get-together. So my friends set up a plan all together, and I was to meet Star's husband's lover 3 weeks later. In the meantime, I hired a lawyer and prepared for the divorce. I told Natalie about it briefly and said that her dad was getting a divorce. So Natalie and I spent our days off looking at new apartments to live. And before I knew it, the day had come when I would confront Stacy at last. Firstly, I asked my friend, who had just started a new job, and then every time she updated me with her progress. Stacy still didn't seem to know about her secret, and we talked on.
Everyone is working after all, so that things are changing. I'm just a housewife, so I'm just with the same routine as usual.
Stacy says so about her life.
Well, you don't have to work, Stacy. You have a husband who can provide.
Another one of my friends says that,
Well, I do appreciate my husband, but there are times when I feel a little bored with it.
I guess now is the time to talk and her about her secret.
So that's why you have affairs with people's husbands, right?
Stacy and my other friends froze at my comment.
Hey, Aaron, what do you mean by that?
Stacy kept silent, turning her face away. The other friend asked me,
Well, it looks like Stacy has enough my husband, John.
What is the best way to get rid of a cold sore? No way. You must be joking. Stacy would never do such a thing.
Since other friends protected her advantage of it.
That's right. Aaron, what are you saying, Oliver? You probably must have mistaken me for someone else, don't you think?
Well, of course Stacy would try to save her own skin.
Oh, really? Well then, why don't you all check your own eyes?
With that, I took out the photos from my bag. My friends are checking out the food that's laid out on the table.
Oh my gosh. Stacy, why?
Stacy probably didn't think I would use the photos as evidence. She can't seem to hide her surprise, covering her open-mouthed expression with her hand.
I was really in shock, you know. Why did you have an affair with my...
Stacy finally seemed to think she could escape.
I'm really sorry. I happened to walk into that cafe where my husband works, and I told him about the idea I had. From then on, I started going there. My husband provides for me, but he doesn't care about me as much since we got married. That's why I was beginning to feel.
Stacy started to cry when she said, even if she had such a reason, an affair is not good in general, and it's not right to touch a friend's husband. I proceeded to talk in a nonchalant and not trying to be carried away by who was crying her eyes out.
I'm sorry to everyone else, but I'm telling Stacy. Here I'm going to change my mind about alimony. And I also put the certificate in the mailbox at your house today. So maybe your husband should have checked it by now, right?
Oh no! How could you do such a terrible thing?
Terrible thing. It's much more terrible to mess with your friend's husband when you yourself are married and have a child too. You should be punished and pay for properly.
When I said this, Stacy turned pale and nodded her head.
We can't really trust you anymore.
My other friends said so too, and was 6 restaurant leaving Stacy behind. Now that the revenge against Stacy V.I. had to deal with John next. I'm pretty sure that Stacy would have contacted John about it. So when I came home, John came to the entrance with a panicked look.
Hey, how could you? I just received a call from Stacy.
Are you talking about your affair?
How could you do it so publicly?
You're terrible. You acted like a good husband to me, reality. You were having an affair back.
And no, that's not what I meant. B, but Stacy has a family too. So why expose her to her husband like that?
How ridiculous. I guess people who have affairs have a similar way of thinking, huh? You think that as long as the other doesn't know about it, there is no right. But in reality, you really did something wrong. So everything must be exposed as part of your punishment. That's why I'm going to divorce you, demand alimony and child support from you.
Since there was already evidence of an affair and no way for John to deny it, he agreed to a divorce, but was required to pay for alimony and child support. But when I hired a good lawyer and was prepared to take the case all the way to court, he finally agreed to. So that's how I divorced my now ex-husband. We sold the house we had been living in and moved into a new apartment with Natasha. I filed for alimony from my ex-husband, Stacy, and received $30,000 from them. I also demanded child support from. After the divorce was finally settled, I started living with Natalie. As one would expect, this incident traumatized me for quite a while, but little by little, my wounds began to heal. However, about 6 months later, an issue arose. I was relaxing at home with Natalie when suddenly I received a phone call from my mother. What she told me had surprised me. My ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law suddenly came to my parents' house and forced themselves in without any permission. At that time, my father had gone out on some personal business. So that's why my mother called me Irish. I quickly got ready and went to my house. When I arrived at my parents' house, my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law were sitting on the living room couch waiting for me. I had no clue why they had come.
What are you both doing here at my house all of a sudden?
I asked, and my ex-husband had said that shocked me.
I want you to give me back the money that's owed to me.
Huh? I never borrowed any money from you.
$15,000 for the wedding dress I bought. You were the leading role in our wedding, which meant that I had lent you the money for your wedding. Since you divorced me now, it's all... To be honest, I would sue you for marriage fraud, but all you have to do is return the $15,000 as a settlement.
He had said an impossible request. My ex-mother-in-law also told me to do it as soon as possible. After the divorce, I knew that he had gotten a full-time job at the cafe working from before. But as I recall, the pay was quite cafe staff. He must be in trouble with money. Why he was making such unreasonable demands.
Well, let me tell you this. We both had leading roles at the wedding. And that's just how it is. I paid more for your living expenses than you did for our marriage. If you calculate the total, $15,000 is a small fraction of what I paid. Don't harass me with your unreasonable demands.
I tried to get them to leave, but they wouldn't leave so easily. Then my father came home. My father had apparently received a message from my mother and had come back in a hurry.
What are you guys doing here?
My ex-husband explained the same thing to my father while being scared to death himself as my father was shouting angrily. My father listened silently, but was taken aback by John's impossible demand.
It's your fault for having an affair first place. If you're gonna make such unreasonable demands, get the hell out of here.
Saying this, my father tried to kick him, but my ex-husband got down on his knees.
Please, Aaron, lend me money. Not only from you, but Stacy's husband is demanding alimony from me, and I can't afford to pay any more.
He must be insane to be begging for a time like this. I coldly told him, no, I can't do that. But to that, my ex-mother-in-law said you're also responsible for what happened and insisted that I was old enough to lend the money. The situation was getting out of hand. So my father said, okay, I'll get you some money. Just wait. And he went to another store.
Hey, Dad. What do you mean by what do you mean?
I hurried after him and my father.
Well, I have plenty of money. Since we have it, why don't we give them...
I was convinced after I saw my father open the closet and take it out. Well, this'll be interesting. My father put the bills in an envelope and gave it to John. After finally getting what they wanted, an ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law left with satisfied looks on their faces. And just as they left, I immediately locked the door and called the police. The two seemed to have checked out the situation after they went outside. And immediately came back and started banging on our front door.
Hey, what the hell is going on here? This is fake money from Monopoly. I don't want this fake cash.
My ex-husband shouted angrily at me. I laughed and said to him over the door, since we have so much money, I'd share it with you, you know? Then my ex-husband said, "You've got to be kidding," and began banging on the door even harder. It sounded like they were both being kicked in the door, but they didn't seem to think that end up becoming a huge problem for John and his mother were just about to leave through the front door when the police arrived, red-handed. All the neighbors gathered around. Apparently, a lot of people saw John's mother getting arrested. In the end, John didn't get any money, but he had to pay a fine for the arrest and cost of reimbursement for the damage to the front door. Moreover, it seems that one of the customers at the cafe where John worked saw the arrest, and word went to the cafe, and he got fired instantly. Now, he's currently unable to find a job and is living with his parents while his in-laws pay alimony for him and support their child. I have also issued a restraining order against my former in-laws, including a... Now, if anything happens, my parents able to call the police and the pole come immediately. And now I am happy as ever with Natalie. I will continue to work hard and wait for my daughter to grow up. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video. After